We've lost trust in each other and we've lost compassion for each other. We know that we're living through a loneliness epidemic. I am excited for what will happen. Life is not meant to be your 100% all the time, especially for women that are hormonal. How do you navigate the sort of ups and downs of all the things that are happening on a daily basis in your lives? I think we will have more time and more energy to be out there in the world. I think the digital space is a great way. If you manage to be as intentional as you are in in-person gatherings, we can't continue to use digital as a replacement for meaningful conversations. How can we shift from a replacement to an enhancement to whatever it is that you're doing in the physical world? Communities need to start small, and they need to be built around a specific problem or challenge that you're trying to solve. The amount of innovation and productivity enhancement that's coming, it's wild. AI agents, I think they are already changing work culture and the way that we're going to hire in the future.
Will there still be need for companies to do if, let's say, there is a very advanced AI agent that can do pretty much anything that human can do? Welcome, Bea. Super excited for our conversation. Thank you for coming on the show. Why don't you give a listener a quick intro, who you are, what you do in the world?
Sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Beatriz Ayala Muniz. I go by Bea, which is my preferred name. I am from Puerto Rico, born and raised. So I speak Spanglish, first and foremost. The way that I would define myself, even though my identity tends to shift quite continuously, I would say I am a connector, first and foremost. I believe in the power of relationships and human connection. It's my driver in life. I would say that I am an adventure seeker. So I love extreme sports, hiking, mountaineering, snowboarding. The more dangerous, the better. And that's how I live my life. And it has got me to live in different cities around the world.
Yep.
And third, I would say that I am a high values driven person. So I have 4 or 5 core values that drive my life and drive all the decision making that I sort of pursue along the way in my journey.
Like, what are those values?
Yeah, I would say the first and foremost is autonomy or freedom.
Okay.
So the ability to make my own choices and design my life and take responsibility for how I lead and how I show up in the world. The second one would be connection, community, not only to people, but to nature. I think that being out there in whether that's the ocean, the mountains, the rivers, it's something that I really took for granted coming from Puerto Rico. And I had really epitome moments after my 29th birthday where I got to spend a lot of time in nature, and that really changed the way that I see the world and the way that I live in the world. Third, I wouldn't say I have this on my list, but it's the ability to course through fear and understand that fear is unintegrated excitement. And sometimes, and this is something that I learned from one of my coaches, sometimes we cannot listen to our internal voice and our internal GPS because it is clouded with judgment and fear of the unknown, where just a mindset shift can really generate sort of like the momentum that you need to pursue something. And last and not least is the asking for help, which is a new value for me. Because I'm hyper independent. Tend to be alpha, if you want to call me that way, in terms of like I'm a go-getter and I see something that I want or I want to create something and I go for it.
Yep.
But that really removed my ability to receive and to like be open to receive and receive help, particularly because I would equate that to weak or not good enough. And that has really shifted my entrepreneurial journey. And being a founder really humbled me in that way. And because I started asking for help, it has changed my life dramatically in the way that I nurture relationships now, and in the way that I also allow space for others to show up for me.
Yeah.
And trust that they will.
Yeah, this might be a value. I've also recently, a new insight came through around asking for help. So I've envisioned myself in the ocean. So there's an ocean and I know how to swim. So I'm pretty good with swimming. And if it's the still ocean, it's great. I know how to navigate that. But there are stormy days. And so, and also there's a idea if you want to have a bigger impact, you want to build some kind of ship where you can put more resources, people, and other things like that. And on the stormy night, you can't be just running around and navigating the ship all yourself. There's a crew members, there are other resources that you carry with you, and so you gotta ask for crew members to help you out to navigate this big ship that you're going through the stormy ocean, basically.
I think we thrive in groups of people that are collaborating towards the same true north. Mm-hmm. And sometimes because we are in a hurry or because there's urgency or because there's external pressures, we want to move at the speed of light. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's not the right velocity for the thing that you're trying to do, create, generate. Yeah. Natalia, which I know that you've had in the podcast before, taught me something that really shook me, which is life is a long conversation. Relationships are a long conversation. Mm-hmm. Just because something it's a no right now, it doesn't mean that it's a no forever. Just as something is a yes right now, it's not a yes forever. Mm-hmm. So how do you navigate the sort of ups and downs of all the things that are happening on a daily basis in your lives to understand that things are not written in stone? Right. Decisions can be changed, conversations can be evolved, and we need to allow space for that.
Very cool. Yeah, it's like a dynamic relationship with the world, with other people that's constantly evolving and changing. It's not always set in stone. Like, let's say there are two apples sitting on the table. There's a closed system. Nothing is changing. Maybe there is a conversation happening, but nothing is really changing. But the world is not like that. The world is constantly, you have to readjust the assumptions, agreements and other
our
things.
Our bodies are not like that.
Yeah.
Us as women in reproductive years are not that like that. Like our brain chemistry changes 25% through our cycle, every single phase that we're in, whether you're in a luteal phase or follicular phase. Mm-hmm. So you also need to allow for those shifts to guide you in your life, and you find ways and tools and rituals to respond to life in a way that feels true and authentic to that person that you are in that moment. Mm-hmm. And we often get punished for that from a societal perspective, and or personally, because we are so demanding on ourselves. We are autoflagelando. Sorry for my Spanglish, it just comes out naturally, but we in the guilt trip and the shame of not being able to be in your 100% all the time. And life is not meant to be in your 100% all the time, especially for women that are hormonal. 100%. It's just not the way that the chemistry of the body and the mind works.
For sure. So you mentioned community is very important to you. Mm-hmm. How would you define or envision an ideal case scenario future in which you build the biggest or the most impactful community that you envision for yourself? And what does that look like?
I think communities need to start small, and they need to be built around a specific problem or challenge that you're trying to solve. It's not the sake of building community just because you want to talk to someone about what. There's this woman that I found during the pandemic called Priya Parker, and she wrote a book called The Art of Gathering. And in that book, she talks about the importance of purpose in gathering. And it's not so much about the space that you're in as much as why are we here? And Simon Sinek talks a lot about this in the why wheel, in the why, how, what, which is a tool that I've been using in my life since 2014. And we just implemented it thanks to the company that I work for now as co-founder in the purpose-driven work that we're doing. But it's nothing can exist without a why. Mm-hmm. And the more clarity you have around that, the more it will make sense on how to go about community. Maybe you don't need to build a community. Maybe you need to build a newsletter. Maybe you need to have more one-on-ones with key people in your life. Community is anything beyond 3 people. Right. And you have to really be certain that if you're going to build anything, with the word community in it or the word connection in it. It's that you're doing it for the right reasons for you first, even if that sounds counterintuitive or selfish.
Yeah.
If you're not suffering or going through the thing that you're trying to solve, it's going to be really hard as you scale or as you grow it to relate to the people that are going to be attracted to that thing that you're generating. Also, in real life, in person, I think that will start to happen more and more as we see AI helping us in productivity and time management. I think we will have more time and more energy to be out there in the world.
Yep.
And that's extremely important, specifically in today's polarity, because we've lost trust in each other and we've lost compassion for each other.
Yeah.
And the reason that there's so much, I believe, the reason that there's so much anger and so much mistrust and so much paranoia in the world is because we stopped relating in person. The villages that we were growing up in got smaller and smaller and smaller, and they became screens. And now we think that because I know what Kelly is posting on Meta or on X or on Instagram, and I give a like, that I have a connection to her.
Yeah.
When I don't know the nuances of what happened that day or what happened that week.
For sure.
And I'll stop it there because there's so much, so many avenues you could go with that answer.
Yeah.
But I would say the smaller the gatherings, the more impact you have.
Yeah, I agree that every community has to have a nucleus, the most passionate and the most driven and the most kind of attached to or like care about the problem that the community is solving. So are you saying that ideally the future communities have the physical presence first and the digital is just like a 10% involvement, or like how would you, because we are shifting more and more over the years into the digital domain. We're spending more and more time in digital domain. How do you consolidate that with you saying we have to have more physical spaces and more physical connections?
I don't know that 10% is a number, but we can't continue to use digital as a replacement for meaningful conversations and meaningful relationships and human connection. Doesn't work that way. Digital is not a platform. It started that way. How can I connect, make it easier to connect and know where my people are?
Yeah.
It completely replaced the digital platform should be using for logistics, like to plan, hey, when are we going to dinner, and throwing a party or whatever it is that rocks your boat.
Yep.
But it's become a replacement. So how can we shift from a replacement to an enhancement to whatever it is that you're doing in the physical world? Why physical is so important? It's because we know that we're living through a loneliness epidemic. The report came 2 years ago. We know that it can increase the premature risk of death by 60%. There's a CDC report that came out a year ago or 2 years ago that says that people that have 2 or 3 really good relationships are 2 to 3 times less prone to suffer from depression and anxiety. You don't do that through digital channels. You do that through human connection, hugging, talking, smelling you, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
And for me, in person has a quality of intentionality to it, in the sense that because there's a main reason or theme or topic that you're gathering around, people come with a specific type of energy to that space.
Okay.
And the interconnectedness of that energy and the exchange of that energy causes ripples of creation. I was part of Miami Tech for 4 years when I was living here, and I'm spending some time in Puerto Rico right now. And one of the things that I first noticed was that there wasn't a community that existed there. It's entrepreneurial, for startups, for the larger ecosystem itself. And it was surprising to me because it used to exist. And when I talked to Sebastian Vidal, which is one of the key contributors to the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Puerto Rico, what happened, there's a combination of COVID, there's a combination of remote work, there's a combination of like the perfect storm of people not coming together to do X. So I said to him, so it doesn't exist, let's create it. And who do we need to have in the room as hosts or as co-founders to build this sort of ecosystem of togetherness? Not because we want to build a product, not because we want to feature on the news, but because people are suffering and building lonely and like in lonely spaces. And we can be proponents of removing that sort of feeling of I don't have who to extend my hand to beyond my partner or beyond my kid or beyond my cousin. Like people that actually get what you're going through because of the thing that you're doing professionally. And we did it, and it started as an invite only, 20 people. Each person got to invite 4 people that you love and respect and that you want in your life. And we're now a group of 100 members.
Cool.
In a span of 4 months.
Amazing.
It is in person first. The digital channel, it's like an add-on to logistics. And because we didn't have KPIs and because there wasn't like a specific outcome that we wanted to achieve, there's already a platform built called Tech Talent Puerto Rico, which big corporations are going to start using now to recruit talent because they don't know where to find them. And it happened in a month because 5 members of the group felt compelled to solve a huge problem that we have in the island. And there wasn't any ego involved. It was just a pure playfulness of creativity and the pure joy of collaboration. And that's what community is meant to be. It's meant to feel effortless, it's meant to be easy, and it's meant to bring people together in a way that KPIs can't.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we mentioned about intention, that maybe in person there's a lot more intention, and I think it's related to attention also. So in the digital, when you're connecting with someone, you're connecting through a very thin, like a very small channel, and then of attention, because a lot of your attention goes all over the place. Like, let's say you're looking at the screen, your attention is getting distracted. Your attention is not on the person's presence. Let's say their face is pretty small, and it's much harder to and they're not looking at you, they're looking somewhere else. What if there's an experience down the line that technology can facilitate, where 100% of your attention or the same amount of attention in the digital space goes towards a person in front of you? You really feel their presence, you looking in their eyes, and you in real time, you really see them there, and you're communicating in the exact same way as you would sitting in their presence. What would the delta be, you think?
That's a great question. I don't think I know. I don't think it'll happen. I hope it doesn't happen through AI. You know, that AI becomes the thing that you're, like the avatar is the thing that you're looking at. That article that came in the New York Times with the woman that fell in love with their AI companion, it blew my mind. I don't know that I will be a proponent of that, to be quite honest. I don't like the idea of screens being the thing that's dividing us. Because of our human nature and the nature of Homo sapiens as social creatures, and the need for that sort of human touch to the things that we do. That can feel palpable to the connections and conversations that you're having. At least not as a full... I don't believe in the full replacement of anything. And I also don't believe that communities can be built now without digital. I think that you need digital channels to also be able to prolong the feeling of connection and belonging. And a great example of this is Rita Agrawal. She's the co-founder of Daybreaker and the company Things, and she wrote a book about belonging. And she founded an institute called the Belonging Institute. And she's taken to the digital space now many of the things that she's been teaching for the past 20 years. So she's bringing together cohorts of community builders on how to create great communities around the world.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to use a digital space to have one-on-one visualization of the person without it interfering with the big sort of event of the cohort, which is a weekend-long retreat somewhere.
Yeah.
To solidify what you've been building online. And a perfect example of this also is when I was building Musicasa. Musicasa was a marketplace connecting homes with musicians to co-create concerts for the community. And when I started it, it was in Palo Alto, in San Francisco, and the Bay Area. It was fully in person.
Yep.
Like I have a note saying like, we will never go virtual, like X to that. And then 3 months later, COVID happened and we had to switch our entire model in less than 24 hours, less than 12 hours to be exact. And it worked so amazingly that first year, especially when COVID was happening, because people were hungry for connection. And because we were using Zoom as a platform, which back then was the only platform that could really work from a quality of sound, but also you could see people, that people felt connected to each other, even if it was through a virtual screen, because they could see people's reactions when the singer was singing a song that really touched them. We would allow for people to talk, unmute themselves and talk with each other. The chat was really active. But then we brought that same ethos and that same sort of culture to the in real life experiences that we then got to launch in Miami in September of 2020. So I don't know that answered your question. I know that I'm a non-believer right now that could be a possibility.
Yeah. I've spent a decent amount of time thinking about future of digital presence specifically, and how would that impact deep human connection, community, and relating. And I know for sure that we will get to the point where instead of Zoom, we'll be able to have a fully simulated, can't tell the difference type experience, being present with another person, maybe even in your own space, just seeing them kind of like as a hologram. The only difference would be you won't be able to touch them.
Right.
And I think it will be a lot more meaningful than what we currently have, like a Zoom session. So for various reasons that I earlier mentioned, I agree that it's not a replacement, it's an enhancement. So for example, to find a bigger group of like-minded people in a smaller town might be fairly challenging, but if you're able to, go all around the world and attract very passionate, involved in particular cause group of people, I think there's something there. Yes, you can have like retreats with them once every whatever time, and then to continue strengthening that relationship, you can have those very immersive interactions in the digital space.
I think the digital space is a great way. If you manage to be as intentional as you are in in-person gatherings, virtual can be a really special space because you're doing it with intention and not as a way to replace, but like enhance, as we were talking about. I work at a company where I was struck by the culture they've created virtually, because Threshold.world is a fully remote place, 100%. Half of the team is in mainland US in different states. The other half of the team is in Puerto Rico, and we don't have an office. We meet once a month for the people that are physically together. And that's about it. But our chief experience officer has created a unique set of rituals where we are connecting with each other in such intentional ways, whether those are through gifts, whether those are through questions, whether those are through prompts, that people feel like they are one. And that's really hard to achieve. You need to have someone dedicated to making sure that that's not lost when we're not hitting revenue goals or profitability goals, or when we didn't close an amount of trials that we needed to close. How do you keep the morale high of people that are producing for the company? You do it through rituals. You do it through intentionality. So, but the sad part is that the majority of the companies in the world don't do that way.
Right.
And that's why you see an exodus of companies deciding not to do remote work anymore or to move away from hybrid work, which I think it's a fundamental mistake because it removes the flexibility aspect and the freedom of people choosing how to work.
Yeah.
But that's another conversation for another podcast.
Yeah.
But I do think virtually with intention can generate a lot of belonging and a sense of meaning for people.
Yeah.
But not as the excuse to not bring those people together physically
For sure.
at a singular moment in time.
Yeah. Speaking about companies and related to communities, and also speaking about innovation like AI and automation and things that are taking slowly or fast or in fast pace, taking away human function. What we thought only humans are able to do, now AI can do more and more and more things. So how do you see future of companies? Will there still be need for companies to do if, let's say, there is a very advanced AI agent that can do pretty much anything that human can do? One individual can hire, a whole fleet of agents that can propel that human's desire to solve a problem, and then that you don't need to collect humans anymore in a group.
I was just last week in Seattle, or Bellevue to be exact, at a Microsoft conference that was focused on AI for nonprofits. Basically, it was an AI conference for nonprofits. And the amount of innovation and productivity enhancement that's coming, it's wild. The things that Microsoft haven't been public with that they're about to launch outside of what they've launched with agents already is mind-blowing. Yeah. I'm really excited specifically for the impact sector because this is a segment of the world that needs to do more with less. And it's a segment of the world that has been frowned upon for trying to leverage funds for operations and for building systems that allows them to do to make their work easier so that they can actually focus on the mission they're trying to solve.
That's right.
So I am a fan of AI agents. I think they are already changing work culture and the way that we're going to hire in the future.
Yeah.
At the beginning, when I first started at Threshold.world, I thought I was going to need a team of 5. And I don't need a team of 5 anymore because of what AI agents is able to do.
Yeah.
We saw an example this past week where there was an AI agent specifically for case management. And it was fully in charge of recording the interviews, writing the notes, doing the summaries, finding the trends, generating the improvements for the programs based on those interviews.
Yeah. Why?
And I mean, it saves hours and hours, even months of cumulative work. Like, we as humans are not great note takers. We cannot be actually present, trying to be there for the person that's, being interviewed, that are going through a hard time, and also be taking amazing notes and then generating the change that we need to generate for them.
100%.
So I think that's brilliant. I think paralegals role, it's going to change. I think content creation is going to change dramatically.
Yep.
And I don't want to sit here and try to fortune tell what will happen.
Yeah.
But I am excited for what will happen.
Yeah.
Because if you are a person that's always asking questions and is curious and it's adventurous to explore, you'll get to create whatever it is that you want to create within the systems that you have in place. Whether that's because you want to enhance them or whether because they already work and you just want to make them faster and better.
Yeah.
So AI agents for nonprofits, yes, 100%, specifically with the shitty shit that's happening in the world right now with the removal of the USAID and the amount of funds that are being cut. And, it's estimated that 10,000 people in the nonprofit sector lost their jobs in the past 3 months. It's a lot of people. A lot of people that are going to have to redefine what they do and how they do it and when they do it and where. And it's a lot of change really fast. We're not equipped to change that fast.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to leverage AI as a way to make our lives easier.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing it as a threat.
Yeah. Do you ever spend time thinking about where everything is going, what the future potential might look like, so you can orient yourself and your actions towards that? Is that an exercise you ever do?
I tend to orient myself towards the future based on my values and how I want to design my life. And based out of that, it's where I get to choose what to do research for. It's where I spend time engaging with in terms of content. For me, my mind right now, it's what's going to be the future of marketing and my role within the company, and how can I leverage AI to make my life easier, but also how to tell our story and where to tell our story, and like the data generation aspect of it and the simplification of R&D for the marketing and branding plans that we can do in the future. I'm really excited about. I use a video tool that it's 100% AI powered that does all of the editing for us, does all of the caption generating for us, does all of the music match for us. So we're exploring in that way. We have Copilot at the company. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm a person that's pretty much set in the present. And based on the reality in the present is, how do we start building systems, and how do we start having the conversations that will position us to achieve X? Whether that achievement is for the company, or that achievement is for the things that I want to accomplish in my personal life.
Yeah.
Even though I live a pretty integrated life. Like, I don't see myself as professional and personal, but yeah, there's a holistic way that I approach life, and I show up in that way authentically in all the spaces that I'm in.
Yeah. For me,
What about you? I wanted to ask, what about you?
Yeah. For me, well, first of all, my belief is that the most advanced technology is the one that's least noticeable. And what it means when looking into the future is we live what appears to be a fairly primitive lifestyle, integrated in nature, community, local, food production, and really like living in a village lifestyle. And at the same time, we are technologically advanced, and technology is kind of on the background where you can't really notice servers and devices and other things. It's all very subtly but deeply integrated into our attention. So at any given moment, we can tap into the, let's say, global intelligence and inquire or connect or have an intention to create some kind of action. So we're becoming more like gods, where the time between our intention or our idea originating in our head and manifesting in a 3D world is shrinking over time. So we're becoming very powerful at manifesting through our tools, through our technology. And it's an exciting future. I see also let's say, when I ask you about the company, like, will we still need companies? I think a lot of different types of companies will not need to exist that are run by humans.
Okay.
There will be some kind of like decentralized, humanly owned systems, kind of like Bitcoin.
Okay.
That's run autonomously, that's been launched as let's say, some kind of agent that has a function to perform out in the world and serve humans. And what's left for humans to do is what humans do best, which is deep human connection, presence, doing human things, gathering in spaces, spiritual evolution of consciousness, and those types of things.
I would say that my response to that would be yes and maybe and no. The no part is that all sounds beautiful. If we were living in a moment in time where people trusted each other and felt compassion towards each other, and we were not going through a loneliness epidemic.
Yeah.
let's say that the future that you're describing right now happens tomorrow. People are not equipped to connect.
They're not yet. Yeah.
So it can be really scary when all of a sudden the one thing that gave you purpose was work is removed from you because it's going to give you more time to connect in a deep way. And you don't even know how to ask a question. Or you're too scared to leave your home because you think that the person walking next to you is going to assault you. So those things need to happen in parallel. We need to equip people with the ability to connect, as we need to upskill them with the tools that are with the tools and the technologies that are being born, so that those things can coexist at the end. And a year from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, yes, I want to spend more time in nature and connecting with my human consciousness because I'm prepared to do that. But if things are removed from me without any sort of notice, that's going to create a bigger disruption than the one that you already lived.
100%.
So that's sort of like where my caveat is. For me, if I were to describe where I spend the most time in my brain, I wouldn't say it's technology per se, but it's how do we protect our humanness within the technology that's surfacing. So that whatever it is that we're using to enhance our connections, to be more productive at work, doesn't erase the person behind the magic.
Right.
I don't think AI is the magic. I think the person gives the magic to AI in the way you ask questions, in the way you do follow-ups when it gives you an answer. Like if we don't know how to ask a question, the thing is gonna come back with whatever it is that you ask them. So I think that the power of generative AI and other sorts of technologies, the intention behind how to use them. And as we know, people love power and people have ego trips, and it can fall in very dangerous hands that have a lot of power over the majority of society. And that can be detrimental to the human spirit. So you need people also working on the human spirit side of things. And I would say that community building is one aspect of doing that human spirit work.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. In terms of overnight changing the configuration where AI is taking over all of the jobs, and then humans now left to do human things to connect, and it's going to be very disruptive because most people don't really know how to do it. I think maybe the only way, or the like one of the ways to do it is to do kind of like pilot projects where you start a local small community and with like-minded people who already have some experience, and then have that as a nucleus, as we stated earlier, as like a first set of people who really know how to do it, and then start to attract maybe less experienced people who in terms of communication, in terms of connecting to others, and really start to expand and have that as like maybe it's not a good analogy. A virus have a negative connotation, but it would spread like virus around the world. It would have little dots all over the world where small little communities, and they will start growing, expanding, and at some point they will start to overlap.
I believe in pilot projects and like phasing things out. So that the human brain can actually capture what's happening. We're so overstimulated and overworked. Everything that's happening in life, and the news media cycle that's happening, and the access to all of the global information that didn't used to be a reality before. So we're now worried about New York, and we're worried about the States, and we're worried about Argentina, and we're also worried about the inundations in Valencia, and we're worried about we're worried about everything at the same time, and our human brain doesn't have that capacity.
That's right.
So it's finding phases or little projects that sort of like can bring your mind to focus on the one thing that matters at the moment, and then focus on the second thing that matters. To bring those cortisol levels down and regulate the nervous system.
I also see that, well, technology, if we put it on the timeline perspective of human evolution, it's like the last few seconds, if you will, like the whole human evolution lasted for a few 100,000 years, and we invented digital technology in the last whatever 100 years. It's a blimp in our evolution, and it almost like feels like we are this newborn babies when it comes down to technology, that just being born into this world and we're using these tools, we have no idea yet how to use them, even though it feels like, oh, we've had them for 50 whatever 100 years. I think we're still very early on in figuring out what it is and how to use it to serve. It's like little babies, they try a rock or like dirt and they're making kind of a mistake, but that's a way to learn. So you got to make a bunch of mistakes, and hopefully we're not going to kill ourselves in the process. And then
More like
at the end, we're like, okay, we've tried all of these things, this set of things, let's not do those. You know what I mean?
There's a keynote that I saw last week where Brad Smith, the author of Tools and Weapons, he's also the president of Microsoft. But in that keynote, he was speaking about how we're coming to the year of celebrating 147 years since electricity was created. And that there are still more than, don't quote me on the number, but I will say the number, and if I'm wrong, I will send it to you later. There's more than 700 million people in the world that still don't have electricity. And we don't have 147 years for AI to be a thing. People need it. Like, people need help. But if you don't have electricity, how are you going to even be able to upskill yourself with AI? That's not a priority for you because you don't have a stove to be able to cook food and, have a safe space for your family. So to me, is to put that into perspective, like it's 147 years, like, well, that's long ago, but also that's not that long ago. And we need to allow for space for things to sort of like have time to exist and change and go through evolution, and allow for people to assimilate to the changes that are happening, which are faster than what we're capable of sort of navigating.
I'm also, so I also had this vision where the oversaturation of information, and as you were saying, like we're just it's too much for our brain to process. And I think actually AI will play a major role in bring it down to the healthy rate of information and prioritization, like prioritizing what actually matters. Let's say instead of going, so I had this comparison, digital domain with so much going on is like walking into a busy highway. It's very dangerous. There are cars just flying by. You won't be able to cross it. And in the similar way, there's all kinds of bots and all kinds of systems that potentially want to take advantage of you, sell you things, and algorithms that are trying to control your decision making and things like that. And I think it will be just unsafe to spend time in the open internet going to things like, I don't know, public chats or something like that. You will just have your personal AI agent that's representing your interests. It's calibrated on your priorities and passions and visions, and then it will do the work for you in the digital domain, and then so you can only talk to it, and then it'll filtrate all of the noise for you.
I love that. Someone was saying last week that they imagine a world where you go to job interviews, if that will be a thing in the future. Where it's not you being interviewed anymore, it's you and your AI agent being interviewed.
By another AI agent.
Being able to create together.
It's kind of happening already because people use AI to create their resumes. And then the companies are using AI to analyze the resumes. That's kind of already happening.
You know what's crazy? When you sent me the topic that we're going to discuss today, I was like, okay, this is a topic that's in my DNA, but let me sort of like prepare certain things. So I go to ChatGPT and I say, this is a topic, this is a podcast that I'm interviewing for.
Great.
Like, summarize for me X, Y, and Z. So it does. And then it says, do you want me to apply these learnings to the way that you approach community and the way that you build it? And I'm like, what? So I click on it and then it comes back and I'm like, this is insane.
Yep.
And he just
it knows stuff about you.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these are actually really good ideas. So for me, that's sort of, and you know what? It also gives the person the power to decide what they want to consume.
Yeah.
Not only what the algorithms on Instagram or the other social platforms are telling you need to consume because of what you're saying and they can hear you and sort of what you're scrolling towards, but like things that you maybe are not interacting with online but are of interest to you in another way and you're like researching about it.
Yeah.
So I think that gives me hope because it gives me that power to decide how and when and which type of content I engage with.
Yeah, for sure. Like we all have different personalities within ourselves. It's not just one. Depending on what environment or situation we're in, different parts of us gets activated or become more dominant. And so the algorithm is feeding probably the parts that are less conscious of us. Yes, we might be engaging with our content. Let's say something like violence or other things where it's like more primal parts of us that are part of our like operating system. We do have a higher self part of us that sets the higher standards for ourselves, and our AI agent should mainly represent, I think, that part, because that part will continue to help us evolve and expand our consciousness,
Yeah, I also like the idea of AI agent communities for yourself, where you can have an analyst for something and you can have a content generator for another, and they're all feeding off each other and the information that you're giving them. So all of a sudden you have a group of agents that are helping you become better and better at certain things. And that will give you the ability to have more time for that in real life, physical, give me a hug type of community where you can exchange ideas on a broader spectrum as well, because AI also makes you smarter in a way because of the information that's also feeding you from the interwebs of the world that you might not have access to or not even thought of.
For sure.
For lack of access.
Some of the usages of AI that I'm excited about is the one that, like your coach or someone that knows the full background. Ideally, it's a locally run intelligent AI that's not in the cloud, so you don't have to share all of your personal information. But imagine you can run something on your device that's capturing everything that happens around you, so it has perfect background of you, and it could provide a perfect mirror and advice and basically it can give you feedback that's very valuable and useful, things that you might not. It's kind of like blind spot identification, and to continue expanding your awareness around aspects of your life. I think that would be really cool.
I love that. I love the blind spot aspect of it too. When I was in the entertainment space and we went through Techstars Music, and there was a lot of conversation around Musicasa specifically. How do you create the digital version passport of that artist or of that person attending the concert, so that it's their member ID to not only the community, but also the way that they engage with the platform and with the experiences and the type of music that they listen to. So it would serve as a sort of like a Michelin star type of, it's not an award, but like a statement that you belong to something that, yes, has a digital sort of like coin to it, but that exists because of the real person that is showing up in that space. And it can change because of how you change.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. What is one of the biggest problems that you see that hasn't been solved and you might have some ideas how to solve it?
Oh, I love this question. I think we would have to localize the answer to that. Or not. My brain is like brainstorming right now. Like,
yeah, of course.
I come from a brand and marketing background. I spent 13 years in advertising agencies, and I got to work with Snickers as a brand. And they've been talking about hunger for 40 years. And the last really human insightful campaign that they launched, and that permeates everything that they do now, it's "You're not you when you're hungry." Right? So
what is it again?
You are not you when you're hungry.
Oh yeah.
So it is rooted in a fundamental human truth that when you're hungry, you get hangry.
Yeah.
So your personality changes, you're irritable, you go through the motions, and everything they did after that human insight generated tons of validation, generated a lot of belonging at a massive scale. They hadn't built a community because they were talking to a human truth that you go through potentially every day.
Yeah.
So for me, there can be little nuggets of human insights that are huge like that because they apply to everyone. And the one that I will go with is, we don't know how to put our oxygen masks first. And because we don't know how to do that, we are showing off for other people and trying to solve things for other people from an empty cup. And I have that top of mind right now because it's the one that we're trying to solve for nonprofits as well. And we have been raised to believe that what the person next to you wants or needs is more important than what you want or need. And that is a really dangerous premise. Because when you're putting aside everything that you need to feel joy, to feel worthy, to feel optimistic, to feel prepared, to putting that aside and giving it to someone else when you don't even have it yourself.
Right.
And that creates a lot of resentment, that creates a lot of separation, that creates a lot of miscommunication. And if we are able to teach more people on the importance of loving yourself and treating yourself well and showing up for yourself in a way that can then allow you to show up for others in a more healthy way, in a healthier way, I think that could be fundamentally the way that changes how we connect and build community in the future.
Beautiful.
And that's a problem that I would be willing to solve.
Love it. Yeah. Could you share with me the problem? So the company that you're involved in now and the problem that you're solving. Share that with listeners as well.
Yes. So I am the current chief marketing officer, soon to be chief connector officer for a company called Threshold.world. And we exist to leverage technology for organizations, nonprofit organizations, to do more good. We exist to make it matter, whatever that it is. So we help these organizations become better operators and become more efficient in their systems so that they can focus on the mission at hand. They are solving humongous problems, like sociable, humongous problems for millions of people. And if they don't have the right systems in place for them to be able to do it in a systemic way, they won't be able to do it because things will be manual, things will be siloed, things will be disconnected. And the way that we do that is by building software using Microsoft for nonprofits, or the Microsoft Common Data Model for nonprofits, by building software for these organizations. And we also build products on the impact measurement and impact reporting and storytelling side of the house, leveraging AI to help sustainability teams and ESG teams at big corporations design better programs, collect better data, and track better data so that they can tell better stories and they can raise more funds to continue driving forward the 2030 UN agenda of the sustainable goals. And last but not least, which I will tie it back to community, 85% of 85% of jobs that are found happen through networking or community. It's because of the people that you know.
Yep.
And funny enough, or not funny enough, because I'm a community builder, this role I got because Lena and Dan, who are the founders, were customers of Musicasa. And we got connected through one of my mentors, or reconnected, should I say, through one of my mentors. And yet again, another reason why you need to invest in your physical, like your in real life human relationships, because they can generate opportunities that you never thought were possible, or that you could not even fathom. I would have never imagined myself working at a tech company in the impact space, generating a brand resilience and brand stories that will change the livelihood of millions of people. And now we get to do that with intention and rooted in the belief that meaningful relationships and meaningful conversations are the way to drive that forward. And I'll finish with this statement, which is, used to be that product-led growth was the thing to achieve for all of these consumer-facing companies. Yep. And I think that the moat for B2B software companies in the future is going to be community-led growth. And a colleague of mine, Janine Swa, talks a lot about this, but we forget that B2B companies in general, are managed and built by humans. So how do you find ways to connect with these people in a human-forward self, so that you can actually build the trust and the reputation that you need to see the longevity of relationships that set forth, I believe, a differentiation on how do you do business and how you show up in the world as a professional, if you will.
I love it. Yeah, that's great. And maybe in the kind of wrapping up phase, any advice that you would want to share with the listeners that you might have around community, around what you're working on, anything? Really?
I would summarize it in 3. First one I would say is give an intention to the gatherings that you're doing. Like, give a purpose. It doesn't matter if you don't have dining chairs around a dining table. Sit on the floor. What matters is why you're gathering. Is it because you want to discuss the gender gap? Is it that you want to discuss how cool it is to be born and raised in Puerto Rico? Is it like, it doesn't have to be all serious all the time. It can, it can be a circle around grieving and bringing people together to know a side of you that no one knows, because we're also nomads. We don't tend to live in the places that we were born. So give a purpose. The second I would say is depth over quantity. And that can be achieved through structured time and unstructured time. That can be quality over quantity. You don't need to have a community of 1,000 people. You can have a community of 3 people and it can be as impactful. So really think about what that depth looks like for you. And finally, leverage digital. It is there for a reason. If used in the right way, it can be a source of incredible growth for whatever it is that you want to do. Just make sure that it's not replacing the thing that you want to do. It is just enhancing the thing that you want to do.
Beautiful. Yeah. And a last question. How can people support you? How can people contribute to what you're...
Thank you. Yes. People can find me on LinkedIn. I write a lot of pieces around community and impact. I just graduated from the Ashtanga Yoga teacher training. So that's another way that I'm looking to build community as well. So I'll be posting more on that on my Instagram, which is Beajando _ and I'm always open to one-on-ones, whether that's in Miami or Puerto Rico, and soon to be in Madrid, which is where I'm moving next.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, listeners, also for sticking around all the way till the end. And I will see you on the next one.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Beautiful. Thank you.